troop movements. He was captured by the British and was to be executed, which was the punishment for spying and for acting as an illegal combatant in those times. His last words were reported as, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country." Nathan Hale is considered an American hero. In 1985, he became the official designated state hero of Connecticut. He was just 21 when he was executed by hanging for spying on the British. Captain Hale actually was reported to have been calm and bore a gentle dignity before his death. He supposedly made a longer, spirited speech before his execution, and he told the British they were shedding the blood of the innocent, and that if he had 10,000 lives, he would lay them all down if called to it, in defense of his injured and bleeding country. He was a Connecticut native who answered the call and gave the ultimate sacrifice to our country in its fight for independence from the British. He is not forgotten. Jumping ahead, after World War I, Decoration Day came to be observed in honor of those who died in all the US wars, not just the Civil War. And the name changed from Decoration Day to Memorial Day. The world wars combined saw over 520,000 American fatalities. Since then, we have seen more lost lives in Korea, Vietnam, Somalia, Beirut, Iraq, Afghanistan, and many other conflicts. Often Americans wonder why we go to battle and fight in foreign countries, but we do it to answer the calls for help. Brave and selfless Americans go to help others who want freedom. Often this weekend, Americans think of barbecues or that school is out or it's summer vacations coming up. But today at 3 p.m., I want you to think of Nathan Hale and all the other men and women who gave their lives for the cause of freedom. And I want you to honor their decisions to stand up for freedom with a moment of silence. At this time, I'd like to call Lieutenant Colonel Sean Nolan, U.S. Army Reserve, for our invocation.
Thank you, Ms. Mooney. Please join me in an attitude of reverence. Father, you have declared in your word that a person can show no greater love than that they lay down their life for their friends. Today we seek to honor the memory of our countrymen who have died in service so that others may live in freedom. Men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice. May they be at peace. And we ask you to bring comfort to their loved ones. For those still living, we ask your continued protection and that you lead us to live our lives in a way that honors and remembers those who have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom. And we ask and pray all these things in the mighty name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Lieutenant Colonel Nolan. At this time, I would like to call forward Delia Canary from Conard High School to sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
Thank you, Delia. Commander of the Guards, please put your units at ease. I'd like to take a moment to thank the many members of our community who serve our state on the state legislature, our town council, and the Board of Education. I'd also like to recognize Ben Cooper, a local World War II combat medic who helped to liberate Dachau concentration camp. We thank you, Ben, for being here today. Lastly, thank you to Renee, who I think is out in the hall, for all of her parade safety officers and efforts today to coordinate everything to do with the parade and also our ceremony. On behalf of Hayes Village Post 96, we thank you all for being here today and for your service to our country, our state, and our community. This year marks the 102nd anniversary of the Hayes Village American Legion Post 96. The American Legion is the world's largest veteran organization, and for over 100 years, our post has strived to fulfill the mission of the 4 pillars of the American Legion: strong national security, caring for our veterans, mentoring our youth, and partnering to promote patriotism and honor, otherwise known as fostering Americanism. As we serve West Hartford veterans and youth, we want to provide an invitation to all veterans to come and join us and support our town and our community to the future. There are also no time limits anymore to join the post, so even if you served one day, you could be welcome to join any Legion post. We are very honored this year to welcome Colonel Michael Cabray, U.S. Army retired, as the Grand Marshal of both our parade and also our ceremony. In today's program on page 2 and 3, you will find the Colonel's bio, and I'm going to read it really quickly, although I'm sure Colonel Cabray would wish that I didn't. Mike Cabray served as the Dean of Administration in the College of International Security Affairs from June of 2017 to June of 2019. He is a retired U.S. Army colonel with 30 years of service, retiring from service duty in June of 2016. Prior to assuming his role as the Dean of Administration, Mr. Cabray served as the Academic Program Manager, Senior Advisor to the Provost of the National Defense University from May of 2016 to May of 2017. In the last 2 years of active service, he was the Chief of Staff to the Provost at NDU. Commissioned in May of 1986 from the United States Military Academy at West Point, he served in a variety of artillery positions, leading and commanding the platoon through brigade level. From 2003 to 4, he commanded and led over 750 soldiers in direct combat operations in Ramadi, Iraq. He served in numerous operations and planning staff positions from battalion to corps level. He is a graduate of the Command and General Staff College and the School of Advanced Military Studies program. He also attended Senior Service College in the SAMS Advanced Operational Arts Fellowship. He has spent time as a senior observer trainer in the Battle Command Training Program and also an operations group commander in BTCP. He served as the assistant commandant of the U.S. Army Field Artillery School. Before being assigned to the National Defense University, he served as Chief of Staff for the Director Joint Force Development J7 in the Pentagon. While serving in the Army, he earned the Combat Action Badge, Parachutist Badge, Air Assault Badge, the Ranger Tab, and holds 2 master's degree in Advanced Military Studies and International Relations. He is married to the former Catherine Moss, and they have 3 children, a son who has served as a captain in the U.S. Army, a daughter who has served in lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, and a daughter who's a nurse practitioner at Johns Hopkins and married to an Army captain. That's a lot. I'm very proud to be able to read that. What a great and distinguished career, and we're really happy to have you here today. So welcome to come on up and share some words.
Thank you very much. All right. So common themes, your hill. But first, Senator Slapp, thank you for being here. Madam Mayor, thank you for the invite to do this, and to all the council, Board of Education members, and to American Legion Post 96. Heidi, thank you very much. I'm honored and humbled to be able to share this day with you. It is a special day for those in the military. It's a special day for all in America. To be honest, I'd like to have been here in uniform, to give this presentation, but when I retired, my wife decided the closet space was something to be valued. So they were all turned into dog pillows and aprons and those kind of things, repurposed. So I'm good with this. I'm very happy to see so many that came out to support this event in the military, not just here in this room today, but along the entire parade route. What a great thing. And as you've heard earlier, that the origins of this day, this holiday began right after the Civil War. And after World War I and other conflicts, we found ourselves in the loss of a lot of our country's blood and treasure. And we went from commemorating the loss of just Union soldiers, which is what it started out as, to the loss of many more brave women and men. I did a little research and learned that there's a Civil War monument here in West Hartford in the old North Cemetery, and on it are the names of fallen soldiers who were never brought back from the battlefield. And on the back of the monument, there's 3 lines of poetry that convey the idea of Memorial Day much more eloquently than I can. And I'm going to read those. On fame's eternal camping ground, their silent tents are spread, and glory guards with solemn round the bivouac of the dead. Now, as a battalion commander in Iraq, I did lose soldiers in my unit. And it was there that probably Memorial Day became so ingrained in me that it was more than just the beginning of summer. In the military, we hold a memorial service for every fallen service member. We would hold one on our camps, deployed, and it was to help bring closure to the fellow service members, brothers and sisters in arms. And then back home, there would be another service that was held primarily to give the families a chance to pay last respects and closure for the loved ones as part of a military tradition. In each instance, members of that service member's chain of command stand up in front of the gathering and speak to the character, accomplishment, and camaraderie of that fallen member. It is a time to remember the good things about the service members. The tradition of reading the names of the unit members and calling out the fallen soldier's name several times, followed by the crack of 7 rifles, firing 3 rounds each, and finally the sorrowful sounding of taps by the bugle, invoke the harrowing reality that a treasured son or daughter has reported for duty at their final post. It is a somber occasion, but it does bring a sense of closure to both the unit and the family. As Americans, it's important to remember that those who made the ultimate sacrifice paid the ultimate price, but know that those service members were laid to rest with honor, tradition, tears, and hugs of brothers and sisters and family. Celebrating Memorial Day is a great tradition, if only for the chance for all of us to give thought to why we observe this day. To close, remember Veterans Day is to thank them for their service. Memorial Day is to recognize the price some paid in that service. And I wish you all a thoughtful Memorial Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Cabre. Next, we are so lucky to have a West Hartford resident, Zonder Boss, to play a special violin solo for you all. Zonder is a junior at Xavier High School and is working toward Eagle Scout. Thank you, Zonder. I had to show off the talent of one of my scouts because I've heard him play a lot, and it's always amazing. Thanks to his parents, who I know put a lot of effort and time into his lessons. We are also fortunate to have another West Hartford resident here today who will share his thoughts, our very own Connecticut State Senator, Derek Slapp. Senator Slapp works tirelessly for our community and the state. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Derek Slapp.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I think it's, well, or good morning still, I guess. I'm joined by my colleague in the legislature, State Representative Kate Farrar, who's going to offer a few words as well. I first just, of course, want to thank our veterans, especially those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. And also, everybody here who is in service, our first responders, and everybody who works to make our town better. I know our great Mayor Sherry Cantor is here, and she's going to acknowledge the members of the Board of Education and the Town Council as well when she speaks in just a few minutes. I wanted to remark on, a few days ago, I read an article about, I think, probably the coolest commencement speech I've ever heard about. Some of you may have read about this. It was given by this gentleman who's a billionaire businessman, and I think it was at UMass Dartmouth. And so what he did is, after he made his speech, and now nobody remembers what he specifically said in the speech, but he brought up 2 duffel bags full of cash. Does anybody, have you heard about this? All right, it's very cool. And so this is, again, at UMass Dartmouth, just like a week or so ago. And what he told the graduates, he says, is as you come up on stage, I'm gonna give every single one of you $1,000 in cash. He pulled it out of his bag and he handed it. And he said, $500 is for you to keep. And the other 500 is for you to pay it forward, right? To give to some charity, some organization, somebody who needs it, and something that's going to improve our community. So I immediately started thinking what I would do with $500, right? Both what I would do with keeping it, but also, more importantly, what I would do giving it away. And I read this going into Memorial Day weekend. And I thought, this is exactly what our veterans, and especially ones who have sacrificed and paid the ultimate price, what they have given to all of us, right? Metaphorically, it's that $1,000. And what's so important about events and days like this is to remind us all of what they have given us. I've read that about every 3 generations, people start to forget about things that have happened in our history, right? Whether it be certain wars, Holocaust, or things that are critically important for us to always remember. I think, well, what about what our veterans have given us and why we need to continually teach new generations, right? About that metaphorically, that $1,000. You have 500, which is essentially the freedom that we get to enjoy, the freedom of speech that Heidi mentioned, and all the freedom and just even the beautiful rain, everything that we're experiencing, right? But then you have that other $500 that the veterans have given you in your pocket, and it's not yours to keep. It's yours to do something with, right? To improve society in some way. It's not enough just to vote. It's not enough just to pay your taxes, right? We all hate to do that, but we have to anyway. But what are we going to do to make our society better? And that, I think, is really the best way that we can honor our veterans and the sacrifices that they made. So when you leave here today, I wish I could give each of you $1,000. I'm just but a poor civil servant, right? State senator, so I may not have it. But think about maybe $500, again, the metaphor that you have, not yours, and what you're gonna do in the name of our veterans. So thank you again for your service. I'm so grateful for it and really, really touched that I can share this day with all of you. Thank you. State Representative.
Good morning, friends. I am pleased to be here with my dear legislative colleague, State Senator Slapp, but even more pleased that we can share in this tradition together. I can't help but see the beautiful ribbon on this wreath in front of us saying just simply, we remember. We remember. And I'm struck by that because when I think about what I've learned about this holiday of Memorial Day, it was first Decoration Day because it was the women, the wives of the soldiers who wanted to honor their husbands and went to the graves to honor them and to decorate those graves and make sure they were remembered. And it was because of those women that gathered that this day became such a tradition in communities across our country. And that's why when we remember, we don't just remember the individuals who sacrificed so much, but we remember those family members who every day, this is a day when they have to recognize, when we can support them in recognizing that their family member really took on that freedom, that cry for freedom in our country as a responsibility that we all have to bear as well. So I really take with me, and I know all of us take with us today, this solemn commitment to remember. And again, not just to remember those who have fallen, but to remember those family members that honor that sacrifice every day. Thank you so much for joining together and for all that we can do to remember and to hold that freedom loud and clear in everything we do in our community. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Derek and Kate, for your leadership. West Hartford has a wonderful leader in our own mayor, Sherry Cantor. She began her leadership role as mayor in 2016 and has led our community through many changes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Cantor.
Thank you, Heidi Ann, and I'm so grateful for your leadership, your coordination and organization of this event, and it's really become such a strong tradition for so many. Many people aren't, the room is filled, but there's a lot of people that are watching on our public access television. My mother is one of them. She is going to be 96 this summer, and with the rain and her hearing aids, it's a little challenging. So, hi, Mom. It's really, it is a beautiful way to celebrate and honor when we bring people together with the weight and the understanding of what this day is. And again, it takes so much, and Heidi Ann was instrumental in bringing us all together. Thank you to Sean Nolan for reading the invocation. Delia, the beautiful voice that you shared with us, thank you for that. Michael, we welcome you into our community, and we're so grateful and impressed by your remarkable history and your full bio that I know you were a little, you're like, stop, but we really appreciate hearing all of your service to the community and your complete family's service to our country. We're just so grateful for all of your family's service. And of course, to Zander for your beautiful music. I want to thank our honor guard here, the police, the fire department that are here that participated in our service, and of course the elected officials that are in the room, and we have many of them that are in the room. I'm just going to have, I don't know, most people were marching in the parade. I don't know if everybody finished and walked because I had to turn around because I was with my granddaughter who had it by that end. But Dr. Lorna Thomas Farquharson, Shannon Merriman, Claire Nessarella, Latoya is also, I think, here. Gail Harris, Dr. Gail Harris, Ethan Goldman, and Jason Gagnon from our Board of Education. I just want to make sure that I recognize our Deputy Mayor Ben Winograd, and there's Councilors Carol Blanks, Alberto Cortez, and Mary Fay, Tiffany McGinnis, Deb Poland, Barry Walters, and Mark Sedanowitz, and I'm not sure again who's actually finished the parade and who hasn't. So I appreciate all of your being here and all of your service to the community. I want to also recognize Renee McHugh. She was mentioned. Renee organizes everything. She's our communication specialist. She really runs so much of what happens behind the scenes and pulls all together. It might seem that things are done in a very organized and seamless way, but sometimes other things happen, and it becomes very, very challenging. So we really, really appreciate all that she does. I also wanted to give a special shout out to some of the people in the room. Jeff Cole is here, but a dear friend of mine and someone that has changed my life is Ben Cooper. Ben, as you heard, liberated Dachau. He is a Jewish war veteran, and nobody has seen horrors of humanity like Ben, yet he has the biggest heart and is so giving of himself and his message and his lessons of life with everybody he meets. And that is so beautiful and so meaningful. And if everybody could bring a little piece of Ben with them and share that humanity and carry what the weight of this day is, the ultimate sacrifice to keep our country free, that would make our world a better place for sure. But it is such an honor and a privilege to stand before you today as the mayor of this wonderful community that has recognized for years and years the importance of Memorial Day. And I am sorry that we could not be at the Veterans Memorial. A Veterans Commission thoughtfully designed, took years to design a memorial that represents all of the conflicts throughout our history and the broken circle that encompasses those conflicts. And personally, there's a brick for my grandfather who served in World War I, and my dad, who's a World War II veteran, are bricks on that memorial. And I also have a nephew who just returned from the Air Force from the Middle East. And so it's very meaningful to have those markers and that representation of the conflicts and the many people that we have lost, even in this community, but we remember. So this day holds a special place in our hearts as we gather together and remember the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice while serving our country. And as we've heard today with these very important messages that you heard from our Senator Slapp and from Representative and our representative, this is not a day off from work. It's and not a day of barbecues and picnics. It's a solemn occasion that reminds us of the sacrifices made by servicemen and women who put their lives on the line for the freedoms that we hold so dear. It's a day to reflect on the true meaning of patriotism, and that means different things to everybody, and there is not one definition. And to pay tribute to people and the families of the people who gave their all. So as we gather at the memorial and we think about the ultimate sacrifice and we honor the courage, the dedication, the selflessness, we remember the mothers, the fathers, the sisters, the brothers, the daughters who have left behind grieving family and friends. We think of that so much. A few weeks ago, I read a book called The Women. I don't know if anybody's read it. It's by Kristen Hanna. She's a award-winning author. And it's a very unique, it's fiction, but it's based on reality. And what struck me is the feedback on the book from Vietnam veterans and people that have lost their lives and been impacted by the Vietnam War, how accurate her stories are of the many people. But her perspective was the women nurses, and so many. The women were not considered actually as serving. People really didn't think when they were marching and they were honoring women, even at the Vietnam Memorial, when they would look at a woman, they would actually say, "You didn't serve. You happened to be there, but you weren't in service," because the draft was for men. It wasn't for women. But there were many women that stepped into combat and saw combat. There were not a lot of women killed in combat in the Vietnam War, but they saved so many lives, and they also sat with so many soldiers whose lives they took their last breath, and they were the humanity and the comfort and the partnership that they saw before those people passed. It's a very powerful book, and I really encourage anyone who wants to read it because it shows the responsibility of being with people that are in such a dire situation, and that strength of character to help them through those very, very difficult times. Today, as we express our gratitude to the men and the women serving in our armed forces, they continue to protect and defend our nation currently, right now, all over the world. And as I really struck me, all the speakers, but Derek Slapp, your $500, that's one of the visuals that I really want you to remember as you carry on today, is that none of the sacrifices, the worst thing that we could do is to not honor those sacrifices and to live in the most uplifting way to make our world a better place, to make our country a better place. Their legacy is lasting on the community when you do moments of patriotism, when you do moments of humanity, when you do moments of service. That's what this is all about. That's selflessness and commitment to a cause greater than the people that lost their lives and greater than all of us. So I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Your presence is really a testimony to the importance of this day, to the gratitude that we have to the fallen heroes, not just on Memorial Day, but hopefully every day. We lost a community member who was very active in our veteran community, Ken Hungerford, last week. And Ken brought understanding to I think he has six daughters, I think. And what Ken did was he always talked about his service and connected people to the importance of service. And he is remembered and thought of by all of us today. And so I want to leave you with this quote: "To live in hearts we leave behind is not to die." So as long as we remember those people that are lost, they're not completely gone, and that's really important. So may God bless our fallen heroes, their families, and our great nation and our community. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor Cantor. I'd like to thank our American Legion Auxiliary members for their efforts in sharing red poppies and flags with our town to keep this important tradition alive and to teach the next generation about this time-honored World War II tradition. Poppies help keep our attention on the most important aspect of this holiday. The auxiliary members give away poppies and flags to represent the ultimate sacrifice of our fallen soldiers. It's important to teach our younger generations our country's history and traditions, like that the 13 stripes on our flag represent the original 13 colonies that Nathan Hale fought for, and that the stars represent the 50 states of the Union. The colors of the flag are symbolic as well. Red symbolizes hardiness, valor, courage, readiness to sacrifice. For veterans, it often also represents the blood shed by those who have fought alongside us to protect our freedom and our country. White symbolizes purity and innocence. Pure because we are independent from other countries and we hold true to our ideals. Blue represents justice, vigilance, perseverance for all, a reminder that we must remain strong and watchful. To veterans, the Stars and Stripe embodies the very qualities that make our nation great: liberty, justice, freedom, and love of country. It also means welcome home to many of us who have fought in foreign lands. Another tradition is the ceremonial laying of a wreath at grave sites or memorials and is practiced around the world. Heads of state, U.S. presidents, and veterans honor departed members of the armed forces or society by laying a wreath of flowers at sites to remember those we have lost. At this time, I would like to ask Eagle Scout Jacob Mooney to please come forward as the memorial wreath is presented. Jacob is a junior at Penn Foster, an online high school program out of Pennsylvania. Thank you, Jacob. Today at 3 p.m., the sound of taps should be heard in towns and cities across our nation. This is to remind us, as we share the day with family and friends, to pause for a moment to remember all who answered the call of our nation and the call where they gave all they had for us. In your program on pages 4 and 5 are names that exemplify valor and honor and who died committing brave or selfless acts, many times at which no one saw or bear witness to them. The names are those who have died in our town since last May's celebration. Names who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Names who will miss red tissue poppies on Memorial Day. There is a true cost to war that we must remember. Today, I remember many amazing men and women I served with who aren't here today. I keep their names on a list in my Bible. Young faces who I can see in my mind, and I wonder what they'd be doing today if they were here, and if they had not sacrificed all. Voices that if we listen in this room, we'd slow down our lives and listen quietly, we might hear their whispers. I'd like to now invite Lieutenant Colonel Sean Nolan up for a closing prayer, and then we'll be hearing from Zonder, who will play taps.
Thank you, Ms. Mooney. Please join me in prayer. Father in heaven, in your word you describe a group of people who did not love their lives so much as to shrink from death. Today we remember men and women from the history of our nation who could also be described this way. Lord, show us all how to rightly value human life and give each of us the wisdom to recognize when what we have an opportunity to defend is worth defending, even unto death. We ask you to continue to shed your grace upon this beautiful country. And finally, we ask, Lord, long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. Amen.
Commander of the Guards, please call your units to attention and present arms. The talented Zonder boss, who you heard from earlier today, will close our ceremony by sounding taps. Thank you for your attention today. When he is done playing, please enjoy your day and think of those Americans who gave their all so that you can enjoy living in a free country. After Zonder plays, we just ask that you leave quietly in memorial of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice to our country. God bless.
Present.